Everyone for joining us today, and this is CKA Hands-on session with very famous personality. You already know that is Walid Shaari, and let us know what you want to hear about Walid Shaari next sessions in the next cloudnative.islamabad sessions, and do follow us on Twitter and do join our Discord server. In that way, you keep up to date on cloud native technologies and cloud native certifications. So thank everyone for joining from every corner of the world. So today, Walid Shaari help you prepare for the CKA exam. And before we start up the proceedings, some of the housekeeping items that you need to know. We are all adhere to the CNCF code of conduct. That means everybody be respectable to everyone. And this 1 hour session is for you. Use Q&A for the question and answer sessions. And if you need more help after the session, do tag us on Twitter or on Walid Shaari's Twitter handle or mine as a Cloud Native Boy, or you can tag us on Cloud Native Islamabad Discord server. We are both happy to help your question answer after the session as well. So let's go to the Walid and you present your screen and try to help us how to troubleshoot Kubernetes cluster in the CKA exams. And at the end, Walid try to answer your question at the end of the session. So now, Walid, it's up to you right now.
Okay.
It's up to you right now.
Okay. So we'll start with the repo and we will start with the branch. I put the branch in the chat. Okay. I'll merge it in a couple of days. I need to add the other stuff to it as we go along. So the main branch itself didn't have the lab. The lab was recently added. Thank you, Siam, making me do more work. So the lab was added to this section, Labs Cube Atom Cluster. What is important in these exams? This is hands-on exam. This is performance-based exam. And it's good for you to cover the concepts, but also you have to have the muscle memory. You have to practice a lot, okay? So what I created, I had issues with Katacoda in terms of threshold and limits. So basically, I decided to go an alternative way, and if you know a better way, let me know. So I used the Vagrant box. So this Vagrant box, I give credit to this gentleman here, Script Camp. He has a blog about it, but I have modified it because it used to use Docker, and it was an old Kubernetes version, so I modified it to use Containerd. That's what you will have in the exam. And you need to, when we talk Containerd, you will not have Docker or CLI. So you have to, one of the things that you need to do better troubleshooting, if you want, is to learn CTR command line and cry control command line. Okay, so I have changed this Vagrant file so to include etcd control and to include the Kubernetes version for the exam and Containerd. Okay, now how I don't have slides, but I have this page. I'll share it again in the chat if you want to follow. Okay, so if you would like to connect with me, there will be issues in this lab. So if you want to raise an issue or a pull request, you are more than welcome. And I thank you up front. If you want to connect with me in social networks and Twitter, I already saw some people from the Cloud Native SUSE Foundation course on board. You can connect with me on Slack also, in Kubernetes Slack and CNCF Slack and Red Hat Slack and AWS Slack. Now, for people who haven't done the exam, and this is the first time the exam, there is a video from Linux Foundation that shows you the exam environment. This is very important. The exam environment is really friendly. The only thing that is not friendly is there should be a timer here. In this section, there should be a timer. And the timer is not in digits. It's actually a horizontal bar. So it's very difficult to determine the time. Be careful with your time. Make sure to know when did you start the exam so that you can determine how much time is still left. Okay, but it's clear in the exam that you will work on different clusters. And I will point this out again later. So make sure that you use the kube control config, use context for the right cluster for the right question. It's actually highlighted in here, somewhere here. It will be highlighted for you which cluster you use. Okay, and then you have the section of the task that you need to do and whatever, yeah. And if you want to flag this one for later, yes. And usually, from experience, I did the exam twice, the beta exam and the recent 2020 exam. The final questions are the hardest and the ones that have high points. So some people, some folks, start with the end and go back. It's up to you. If you want to start one question, two questions from the beginning, just to get accustomed to the environment, and then do the high score questions first, because then you can come back to them later. That's better. Now, Linux Foundation give you killer.sh 2 session. This is very welcome addition. Killer.sh actually opens your mind to different concepts and of the exam. It's actually harder than the exam. So at least you need to do it like 2 weeks before the exam, and then to find out where is the weak points, and you study them and you practice them, and then again 2 days before the exam, so that you make sure that you have covered everything. Okay, so this is basically news. Another certification you can do, there are free certifications you can do. These certifications coming from Solo.io, from Rancher, from Tigra, the Calico provider. And they are actually very proficient, and the content is super awesome. So I recommend that you go through this. It's you'll find the link here. And if you want to learn more about the certifications and the Linux Foundation and what CNCF, Sayam Bathak, the famous CNCF ambassador, he's very famous with his daily content. He's having a regular program, Search Magic, every Thursday, I believe. He already did like 3 episodes. You can see them here. So follow these. These will be perfect for you if you are really interested in the exam and the Linux Foundation exam. Another news, which is big news, A Cloud Guru, which is the famous cloud training website, which bought Linux Academy. That means that they have a large number of content when it comes to public cloud like AWS, Azure, and Google, and also Kubernetes, and also they started VMware and Red Hat and whatever. Now, after Pluralsight is buying them, I think this will be your main training site. It's bad for the industry. I mean, there is no competition, but it's good for us. I mean, it will be good. Now, quick tips. Kubernetes version changes 3 times a year now. There is the new cadence. It used to be 4, now it is 3 times. So when you, in the exam, you are allowed to go to kubernetes.io. Make sure for this current version, until maybe 2 months more, the current version is 1.21, so you have no issues. Okay, with even with 1.22, I don't think you'll have that many issues for the CKA. But to be on the safe side, make sure always when you choose the documentation, you choose the release version that you are examined on. And when you practice, make sure that you do the same. So and in the exam environment, make sure that you address the right namespace, especially if you're coming from OpenShift or if you are using kube control plugins, that you don't need to change the namespace. You don't need to specify -n or minus namespace in your commands. And make sure to specify the right cluster context, okay? Keep it simple. Don't overthink. The exam is straightforward. The question is straightforward. So they usually ask you for a task, and the task should be straightforward. So don't overthink it. If you are changing a manifest, like etcd manifest, or you're changing a kubelet configuration file, always make backups, okay? And try to practice this when you are trying, when you are enforcing your muscle memory for the exam. And get familiar with the kube control. Get familiar with the options in the manifest files, in the control plane files, the kube API server, the etcd server, and everything. Avoid spelling mistake. In the exam, you will see that you can copy and paste easily. So use this, capitalize on that. And when you do troubleshooting, and you will be doing a lot, okay, so make sure that you focus your troubleshooting. Okay, kubelet is not running. System control status, check why the kubelet is not running. Can you see an error? Use journal control -u for the unit kubelet. So system control and journal control, they are not really Kubernetes specific, they are system specific, but you have to be familiar with them. Know where to check for logs, var log bods, var log containers. Know how to use the tools that I said, like don't have the Docker command line anymore. Know how to use cry control, cry control, and CTR. I need to put CTR here somewhere. Okay, I'll just put the comment. You see, nothing is complete. So make sure you back up your manifest and files, and while practicing. The new exam environment, I don't have updates, but according to the video that Linux Foundation posted, and I did the CKS exam recently, a month or 2 months ago, they had auto-completion already, okay? But if you don't, make sure that you know how to do the auto-completion. This is how you do auto-completion, okay? You might have it ready, but make sure that you know how to do it just in case it's not there. Okay, so these are the tips. These are the quick tips. What do you need to be familiarized with? What kind of documentation? The concept section, the task section. If you can do all the tasks, that would be perfect. And try to practice kube control explain. Kube control explain deployment, kube control explain service.spec. I don't know. Yeah, try to practice it so that you can create your YAML file without looking at the documentation. So these are the section of the documentation that you need to focus most. Concept, task, and kube control cheat sheet. Another thing that I haven't mentioned here is the when you are outputting, when you are doing outputs, you can do JSON bat, you can do output using names. So this section in the kube control sheet, let's see it. Moonshad has a free course for that, which is really good. Let's say JSON bat. So this one. So you can output JSON, you can output JSON bat, and you need to do the filters like this. So practice this, because sometimes you need to output many attributes from different mods. This would be the easier and the faster way to do it. Anything that makes you manage your time efficiently, it's most welcome. Okay, I will add the Moonshad course. It's a free course for JSON output and filtering, so it will be really welcome. Okay, so learn how to do kube control, explain recursive. Make sure that you know your kube control. Yeah, you will be using mostly kube control in this exam, and you will be using an editor. Most likely it will be Vim. Try to enhance your skills, experiences with Vim. And this Vim RC configuration will help you avoid YAML mistakes, because all the mistakes you will have is mostly will be typos or indentation. Okay, so before you start practicing, check the curriculum, check the FAQ. You need to check the curriculum for what is the objectives. I already have them in the website, and they are updated. FAQ, so that you learn more about the environment that you are going to use. What clusters we will have? Let's see. You can actually figure out what question is which cluster. So here you can see that for the first questions, probably that you will get the K8s cluster of 1 master and 2 workers, and the network plugin, the CNI plugin, is Flannel. You can see there is a Flannel, and you know that Flannel doesn't have a network policy. So most likely this will not be network policy questions. Anything with Flannel or loopback, it will not have the network policy. Okay, for the network policy, most likely it's Calico. So you can use Calico policies, which is not recommended, because I said keep it simple. And the cluster will be 1 master and 2 worker nodes. Okay, so you can see here what kind of environment that you need to work on. Okay, so that's why it's very important to look at the curriculum and to look at the FAQ, so that you can learn what is the environment, how the exam will look like. Other webinars to watch, because I cannot really cover everything. There is Tim, which is a Linux Foundation trainer, an awesome trainer. He has a webcast. Check it out. In addition to Sayam Bathak Cert Magic. Courses, see the main repo. I have lots of courses from A Cloud Guru, from Udemy Mumchat, and from Anthony on Pluralsight. The Anthony on Pluralsight is a perfect course for troubleshooting, and for internals also. He has lots of courses regarding Kubernetes, and he always creates new ones. Okay, if you are not familiar with Vagrant, it's very easy. It's from HashiCorp. Any tool from HashiCorp is worth learning. I put here a Learn Vagrant. This is like HashiCorp has a Learn website. Let's go to it quickly. I mean, I'm already over my time, just showing the introductions. So here, basically, this is a course from HashiCorp where you can learn lots of tutorials, Terraform, Backer, Vagrant, but we're interested in Vagrant now. And you really don't need much, to be honest with you. You just need to know how to Vagrant up, Vagrant hold, Vagrant SSH, that's all. Or Vagrant destroy, Vagrant global status to check if you have a Vagrant machines running and they are consuming your system resources. So Vagrant is a very easy tool that isolates the Kubernetes environment or whatever testing environment you want to do. Okay, so let's get into it. Now we start. etcd. So what is etcd? Who can tell me what is etcd on the chat? So etcd is the heart of your Kubernetes cluster. It is the only stateful workload. Yes, yes, Raymond and Rasra. Yes. So what is special about etcd? etcd was designed by CoreOS, and you know who was in CoreOS? Kelsey Hightower, Defi Cooley, all the awesome people were there in CoreOS. So one of the things that came out of CoreOS was etcd, the distributed key value store. So from the start, it was meant for distributed systems. So it has features that fit perfectly with Kubernetes. So for documentation regarding the main task that you are going to be asked on the exam, and the task that you have to do in your day 2 operations, here is the link from the Kubernetes IO documentation. Okay, if you need to know more about how to store a cluster and stuff like this, this is from the etcd IO. This is not applicable in the exam, but this is for you if you need more information. Why do you need to do backup and restore? You need to do backup and restore because things happen. Power failures, fire like OVH data center, lots of things happen, and we have to be ready. If we need resiliency, if we need reliability, we have to be ready for failures. Now, can you tell me, if you back up etcd, what are you missing? Or when you back up etcd, what kind of data you are backing up? Can you? Do I back every data, or I'm missing some data? Is it enough to back up etcd? Yes, it is the desired state. It is the whatever current status of the cluster, but etcd doesn't save, like, for example, the volume data. If you have physical volumes, if you have BVCs, it will not save this data. etcd will save only metadata of the cluster, what kind of objects and what kind of resources, and the metadata associated with them. So if you need to a complete solution for backup, you need to use something like Velero from VMware, or it's an open source, or you can use a commercial offering like Katzen. It's, I think, free for 10 nodes or something like this. But you need another solution. Or you can use snapshots from your public, from your cloud provider, or from your, if you have on VMware, for example, if you are installing Kubernetes in VMware and you have snapshots enabled on your storage, where you are installing the Kubernetes node, you can use snapshots of your infrastructure. Okay, so same saying Longhorn from Rancher. But I need, I don't know about Longhorn. It is a distributed file system, I believe. I need to learn more about Longhorn, Sam. Okay, now, what are the components that are really important? We are talking about etcd. So etcd, we know it's the component that is sensitive to performance. So usually when you run, you have to have SSD disk or NVMe disks, and there is a certain latency. And what kind, but for the exam, for us and for our daily operation, what do we need to know? We need to know etcd control, and as I said, every time you have a tool, learn its options. Especially this time, what kind of option we are interested in. We're not interested in backup, really. we are interested in snapshots. There is something called backup, and there is now something snapshots. So program your mind from now on. When you are looking to do backup and restores, it's etcd control snapshots. Okay, how can you get etcd control? It will be given to you in the exam. If you cannot find it on the master node and the worker nodes, maybe it's in the base machine. So in the exam, you will have a base machine. So in the exam, you have this one master and two workers, for example, this cluster. But you always have a base machine, and you can jump to the master, you can jump to the workers if needed, like in troubleshooting, for example, or if you need to change a control plane manifest. Okay, so, but if you don't have it, maybe you can use the container image that is available in the master node. Now, the problem with the container images for etcd, it doesn't have tar, so you cannot really copy it. It's a static file, correct? But you cannot copy it. But you can use it like this. You can kube control exec into the etcd pod. Okay, so the etcd pod is a static pod. That's why it's called etcd, and then the node name. So the node name, the master node here. We shouldn't say master anymore. We should say control plane. So the control plane node here is control plane. If it's more than, if it's a cluster, it could be control plane 1, control plane 2, and so on and so on. Okay, and I run etcd control version from inside. Why do I need to know the version? Because you will see that most tutorials, most videos and documentation recommend you to use an environment variable, etcd control _ ABI. I don't believe you need it anymore now, and we will see why. Let me in the meantime bring my Vagrant up. So I said you say Vagrant up. Okay, you basically need to clone the repo and then Vagrant up. The first time you do Vagrant up, it will take some time to download the Vagrant boxes, but then it will be straightforward. Okay, now let's go back to the document. So get accustomed with etcd control. So etcd control version will give you what version etcd control command line tool is, and what ABI it is supporting. If it's supporting ABI version 2, yes, you need the environment variable. But if it's not, which is most Kubernetes nowadays are, then you don't need it. Okay, let's see if the okay, it's not up yet to 100%. Okay. Now, what is important in the etcd manifest? So I need to really master this topic. I need to learn more about etcd control, and I need to know the etcd manifest. And there are important things in etcd manifest. One of the important directive is the data directory. This is where etcd will save its database. Yes. So this is very important directory. And in restore, there are two options. There are two ways to do restore. You might need to change this. And if you need to change this, there are consequences. I will try to show you a way where there are no consequences. So, and just learning about etcd, you can learn about other stuff that is required in the exam, like the storage section. So there is something called hostbat in the etcd manifest. And the hostbat, because basically etcd is a static privileged bot, and it needs to access local storage on the node itself, on the control plane node itself. So that's why we need a hostbat. So if you change the data directory, you need to change the hostbat. So if you change the data directory, instead of varlib etcd, you change it to varlib etcd restored, you need to change the hostbat to varlib etcd restored, and any configuration associated with that. The other thing, now we use TLS. Everything in Kubernetes component basically communicate with each other using TLS certificate. And now etcd has its own certificate because it's very critical and crucial to security, so you cannot share it with the Kube ABI CA certificate. So you need to know where the certificates are. You need the CA for the etcd and the server and the key. Okay, so in etcd static pod manifest, these are the directives that are really important. Listing client URL, because you need to know the endpoint that you are connecting to. The image version, it just if you want to know which version etcd is running. Cert file, key file, and trusted CA file. These ones you will not change, but data directory you might change depending on how you answer. Okay, let's see if the terminal, because this is supposed to be hands-on, so let's see the terminal. Okay, So now I do vagrant SSH, and I will go directly into the control plane. Let me do Control L. So, and let's see if I have my nodes healthy and everything. Okay, I have 3 nodes. I have the control plane node, and it's running version 121, which is compliant with the current exam. And I have the 2 worker nodes. Let's see the manifest. The manifests are under etcd Kubernetes manifest, and I'm interested in etcd. So let's see the etcd YAML. Oops, permission denied because I need to use sudo. Okay. So you see here, it runs etcd with these options. Advertise client URL. This is the cert file. It's important. Now this cursor line is because of my vimrc. So the client cert authentication is true. That means it's using certificate. And this is the one that you might change. This is the only option that you might need to change, the data directory. Okay. The ones you need is the cert file, the client, just a second, listen client URLs. So you can see that etcd is listening on local and the loopback address and on the node address, on the private node address on port 2379, which is the default etcd port. Other than that, you can find the version. So the version running is 3.413. You can see that is, okay, let's go to the host path actually. So here, if you check, you see that volume mounts. So it's mounting varlib etcd as HTTP data, and it's mounting etcd Kubernetes PKI, the certificate, as etcd certificate. And the volumes are host path volumes. That means that they exist on the host. And this is not recommended, but for this, for other workload. But for this specific workload, the context actually justifies it. Okay, now if you changed after restore, if you are doing restore and you changed where the data directory is, you need to change here. Yeah, you need to change the host path here. Okay, you don't need the varlib etcd. Yeah, here, sorry, the varlib etcd, the etcd data. You don't need to change the etcd certificate, but you need to change the etcd data. And the moment you change the etcd data, this one is not, I mean, it's not really, okay, let's go. Okay, now let's see the etcd control. Okay, etcd control version. So you can see that it's actually using 3.416, the same version as the bot. And the ABI version, it communicates with 3.4. So you don't need what most tutorials say. Most tutorials will say export etcd ABI underscore control version 3. You don't need this. Why? Because basically the ABI version is saying version 3. If it says version 2 in the exam, then yes, but most likely it will not. What plugin in your shell do you use? It's useful to have that shadow line. Okay. For the shadow line, it's the it's in the document, and it's basically the vimrc. And it helps you with the tabs. It helps you with the Ansible. So how to get the shadow line? It's the CUC. CUC. What does CUC means? Okay, I will not teach you what CUC means. I will show you how to find what CUC means. You just do help CUC with the quotes. And you will see basically a cursor column. Yeah, and this is how you find the different options in your Vim. Okay. Okay, let's go back to the documentation because we're running out of time. So learn your tools and learn how to get, so basically if I want to do a restore backup, I might need the cert file, I might need the key file, I need the trusted CA file. And I need the data directory in the restore, but I don't need it on the backup. So if you do etcd control help, let's do etcd control help. Where do you get it? How do you get your information? Either get it from kubernetes.io or basically using like help. So you can see that I have, without doing any environment variable, I have lots of options that I can do. I can do member list, I can do migrate, I can do, but the one I'm interested in is snapshot. And you can see I have 3 commands that I need to learn: restore, save, and status. So the moment I do save, to check did I save the snapshot correctly, I run snapshot status. To restore, I do snapshot restore. And to get help, it's very easy. So I say etcd control snapshot. That's the one I am interested in. Oh, sorry, fat fingers. So you can see that snapshot, restore, save status, and these are the options. Okay, so let's say I want to do restore. So one possible exam question, restore, and you'll see that I put in the file possible task, backup a cluster, etcd save it into whatever, or restore a cluster. So I have a snapshot. Okay, let's check the cluster first. Cube control get bots minus capital A. So you see that I have in default, I have a backend and front end application running, and I have Cube system and I have Kubernetes dashboard. Okay, but the administrator told me that they did maintenance and they forgot, they screwed up and they forgot to one application disappeared. But they did but because they are doing an update, they did a backup of the system before the update. So let's restore it. How do we restore it? The update, they said it's on /vagrant/backups, I believe. Okay, this is the update. This is the etcd backup. Okay, how can we restore it? So we do etcd control, and we said it's a snapshot, and they said restore, and we do help and check what other options. So I need CA cert. So let's say I need CA cert. And what else I need? I need cert. And do I need the endpoint? By default, it takes the loopback, which is, I am listening on the loopback. When we check the static manifest, so we can skip that. And we need the key. So let's say key. Okay, where do I get this from? I can get them from the manifest, or, okay, I do hash here, or I can do BS AUXW and grep because I know etcd is running, and the container is processed at the end of the day. And if I grab etcd, I can see the cert file is this one. So I can take the cert file. Okay, I go back to my command and I put the cert file. Which cert file? Yeah, I put the cert file. Oops, sorry. Control-Shift copy, Control-Shift V. Okay, that's better. I put the key file, which is actually the same as the cert file, but ends with key, and you can see it here. And I need the CACRT. So I need the CACRT, and you can see the CACRT. This is the beer CRT. Okay, here it is, the last one. So I need this one. Okay. So snapshot restore, Control E to go to the end of the line. And where is my database restored? It's under Vagrant, backup, and Islamabad DB. Okay. Okay. Didn't do anything because it was commented out. Okay. You see, it looked like it worked fine. I mean, this is really amazing. You can trust etcd control. Okay, let's see what happened now. Cube control get bots. Nothing. Let's do -A. What did I do? Restore, correct? Yes. Okay. So what happened? Nothing happened because basically I didn't change the data directory. So that's one of the mistakes. And this is good if I am practicing. This is good that things doesn't happen as I wish to. So if we go back for the help, you would see that one of the options, actually one of the main options that you need to supply to the snapshot restore is the data directory. So what can I do? I need to specify a data directory. I cannot specify the current data directory because it is still production. It's still working. So I have to specify another one. I would say var /lib /etcd, let's say restored. Okay, I cannot because I don't have permissions. I need to use sudo. Okay, if I check ls var lib etcd restored, okay, sudo. Okay, I can see that it populated with a database. Yes, so I have the wall and the snap. Okay, now what options do I have? If I do cry control bots, okay, I need to cry control bots -- help to see the options, because by default it's I mean it defaults to Docker, but I don't need Docker. I need Unix. Cry control -R, the runtime basically. I need something like this. So Unix, because I'm not using Docker. Docker has been removed. The Docker shim has been removed since Kubernetes 1. Instead of Docker, I need containerd. So containerd, and I need the socket for the containerd. Let's see. My auto-completion is not helping me. This var run containerd. Sudo again. I don't remember if the exam you will be root or you need to use sudo. Most likely you will be root. Okay, so if I do sudo cry control -R, this one, and for example bots, you will see that I have the core DNS, I have the etcd running, and whatever. Yeah. So the moment I change the data directory to the new data directory etcd restored, I will cause stale data or I cause an issue. So it's recommended that you stop the control plane. How do you stop the control plane? You go to the manifest, etc Kubernetes manifest. You can create a backup, and let's create the backup outside. Make directory backup first. Sudo. Okay, and sudo move start.yaml to backup. Okay, now what I do, I make a backup of the etcd, the data directory, move var lib. Let me do something to make this easier. Sudo su minus, I'll be root, and I'll move var lib etcd to var lib etcd backup, just in case. Okay, and now I move the one that is restored, etcd restore, into its place to var lib etcd. Okay, now where am I? I am in root. Okay, I go back to the manifest. It's the Kubernetes manifest, and there is nothing. Okay, so what do I need to do? I need to get the manifest back. Move backup start.yaml to here. Okay, cry control -R. We know cry control -R needs this file, the socket, but it's not Docker. It will be containerd, so it will be Unix socket. Okay, var run, instead of Docker shim, it will be containerd, and it will be containerd.sock. If I say bots, okay, I can see that the etcd 30 seconds ago started, the control manager will restart, and the kube API started. Okay, let's see, kube control get bots -a in all namespaces. Okay, and we can see now the backup restored a namespace CKA with an application in the CKA. Okay, so that's the application that was restored by the backup. And if I go to this namespace -n CKA and -n CKA, and I say get all. Okay. Now this is a very simple exam questions. Very simple exam question. They want you to explore. They want you to know. Do you know how can you get the nodes? For example, yeah, I can do kube control get nodes. And do you know how to get their IB? Yeah, I can do kube control get nodes -OI. So basically, these are very simple questions, and you should be fast in getting information. So if the question is asking you what OS image is running, you know, what kernel version. Okay, in CKA, you will not get different container runtimes, but in CKS, you might get different container runtimes. So if you have container D, you can run like gvisor and stuff like this, yeah? So you need to be familiar with the information here. Okay, now, why I'm saying this? Because basically, I want to get all -n CKA. And remember, in the exam, always make sure that it becomes a habit that you specify the namespace either in the beginning or at the end. It's up to you. It's actually preferable that you specify it in the beginning so that you can change the commands. Like, okay, I don't have K. Let's make an alias. K equal kube control. K -n. CKA get all. So I can see that I have bots, I have replica sets, I have deployment. So the deployment created my replica sets created the bots. And the service was exposed, okay? Now, what I can do, I can kube control apply. I need to deploy another application, -F, and I have an application here, Vagrant app, and I have the MEM CNG. I have another application. I deploy this application, K get bots -A. I can see that I have another application and it's pending. I can do K -n, the MEM CNG. Actually, I can do it like this. Paste. And I can do, say, describe pod. Okay, it assigned the node. Get bots -A. Everything is running. Okay, if I go back to my restore command. Okay, my restore command is not here. It's actually here. So this is my restore command. If I want to save, it's the same command, okay? Save. It needs a CA cert, it needs a cert, it needs a key, and you need to specify a location where you're saving, but it doesn't need data directory. But you need to give it a location where you're going to save this. So I can say snapshots, new DB, a new etcd data.db, for example. And I saved it. How can I check? I go to the same command and I do state. Status, sorry, not state. Why is state? It is status. Okay, now you see the output. Maybe it's not really clear output. So one option that I like to use is the write out. Do write out and instead use table format. Now, okay, so basically I have a snapshot with this hash, with this revision. It has a number of keys inside it, a number of keys and values inside it, 2064, and it's only using 5.4 megabyte space. Okay, so this is how I do restore, save, and check the status of my backup. So this is a good question. It's part of the cluster configuration and maintenance, which is, I believe, is 20%, and it's a guaranteed question. If you practice it, it's a guaranteed question. So the possible task is you need to back up the cluster or restore a cluster. One of maybe two of them, maybe just one of them. Okay. Here I need to reorder it a little bit, but here is what I did actually. So basically you can see the same documented in this document. Maybe it's out of order, but it's already documented here. I need to reorder it. Okay, we have like 4 minutes. I don't know if you want to stay or not, or if you want any questions on etcd. Do you have any questions on etcd? So if you go here, and if I go to tasks, okay, you will see administer a cluster. So migrating from Docker shim, installing network policy. You need to know, by the way, you need to know where are you in the documentation. Namespace walkthrough, safely deny, migrate the cluster, restore, let's cd. So under task, administer a cluster, configure, upgrade etcd. So I was nearly there, but it took me time. So you can bookmark this, by the way. If you don't remember it, you can bookmark it. Now, I didn't use, so this is how he runs etcd. Multi-node etcd. It will be at the end. Okay, add the new member. Backing up an etcd cluster. So this section you should really bookmark it, and you should really know how to get into it quickly. And you see here, the documentation is using the environment variable. I didn't need to use the environment variable because my etcd control is already using ABI version 3. So I didn't need to use the environment variable. I didn't need to use the endpoint because by default, the CubeADM listens on the loopback address. So, and etcd control expects to listen on the loopback address, so I didn't need to do it. Okay. So this is the snapshot save. After the save, I can check the status. If you use the write out, it's very nice. It gives you a nice output so that you can understand what it is outputting. Okay. And restoring is the same, but you need the data directory. Sorry, backup, you need the data directory. Restoring, you need the data directory. And if you use the same data directory, you don't need to update the manifest. You will find tutorials that where you need to update the manifest. The way I used it, I don't need to update the manifest. I kept a backup of the old etcd data, and I overwritten it with the new one. Okay. Could we follow up the second session? This is super cool and helpful for yeah, of course we can follow up with second sessions. We didn't know really. I mean, we thought that 6 tasks will be an overkill, so we said 3 tasks maybe will be fine. But we just finished 1 task. The other task is actually there. Okay, I don't want to do it from here. The networking task, I'm just following a tutorial from Cilium. So there is a very nice website now for network policies. So Cilium and Calico, they have their special network policies. So there are CNI plugins like Cilium, NSXT, and others, where they have extensions which are specific to them, which are not really Kubernetes network policy object. They are an extended CRDs. They use CRDs to extend the network policy to the cluster level, not to the namespace level, or not to. So they can even control the host firewall, not just the baud traffic. Okay. Troubleshooting, I don't know. I wanted to do it. I want you. Basically, troubleshooting, I break the cluster, and we wanted to learn it together. So I guess we are done for this session, unless there are questions, or unless somebody wants me to go through something quickly. Sayam, I'll stop sharing.
Yes, thanks, Walid. Walid, that's a wonderful session. It's always looking to see how you are doing these kind of stuff. So it's able to catch you. So we can do it in the same way that you are troubleshooting the cluster. We are doing the same way in the exam. But I think one thing that is really important to understand right now, because some of the people are asking, let's say there are, I think, 20 questions in the exam in the CK or CKAD or CKS. So you are doing the first task, let's say you are troubleshooting the cluster and you break the Kubernetes cluster. Does this breakage of Kubernetes cluster impact other exams, other...
No. So that's one thing really nice about Linux Foundation compared to Red Hat exams. In Red Hat exams, if you mess up the first 3 questions, you could mess up your whole exam. But in Linux Foundation, the simple questions, you will be on a simple on one cluster. But in this cluster, you will not be changing ABI manifest or HCD manifest or troubleshooting. It's just basically, for example, doing exploration, like which bot has the highest CPU. Which, if you see, there is a KubeCon keynote by Cheryl, and she shows like sample questions from the CKS and from the CKA. And you can see basically what kind of exploration questions. So basically, you are an administrator and they give you a cluster. Okay, you need to know what cluster version, how many nodes, what operating system they are running on, what kind of namespaces are there. This kind of exploration, you need to know. Basically, you can discover the extent and the context of your cluster and the context of namespaces and applications. So there are a type of questions like, do you know how to dig and understand what your cluster consists of and what application you're doing? Can you create a storage for a new deployment? Can you create, this physical volume? Can you create a physical volume claim that attaches to it? Okay, and can you expose a service? Now you have a deployment. Can you expose a service? Can you expose it of a certain type? And things like this. So basically, but the questions, they don't affect each other most of the time. So the troubleshooting question most likely would be this one. Look at this one. What does it say? One master, one base node, and it's using loopback. But the problem is missing worker node. What could it be? It could be simple CubeADM join node. It could be kubelet is down. Okay. Now the CNI plugin is loopback. So it cannot be a CNI most likely, or maybe you need to install the CNI. If you want to install the CNI to my, it's very difficult now. It's not like before. If you go to my main page in the Certified Kubernetes Admin, under the networking section, okay, choose an appropriate plugin. So if you go here, creating a cluster with a CubeADM high availability, and you check here, control plane need isolation, joining your nodes. This is, if it's joined, that's how you join it. Of course, you need to get the token. I needed the CNI section. Okay, so there is a lot of, I need to update my, okay, it's changed. So I need to update my repo actually. So basically it's Q high availability. It's CubeADM high availability, and there is a way how to install creating high available clusters with CubeADM. Yes, this is it. Before we begin, first steps, CubeADM net control plane.
Walid, are you sharing your
section?
Are you sharing your screen?
Oh, sorry, I'm not sharing.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Okay, select use operating system setting, allow. Okay, share. So don't use Firefox next time. Okay, so I went to okay, and under networking and services, company not security. Go from here, go back.
So what I understand by what you're saying that is the questions these are in the separate playground. If you mess up the cluster in the one of the playgrounds in the exam, it's not messing up with the other questions in the other scenarios. So I think that's a great feature of the Linux-based Linux foundations of the CKA and CKS-based testing.
Okay, so most likely. So where were we? We were discussing.
Yes, I just saying.
What,
Yes, I think that's a really question that people are asking about this a lot. The new one that's haven't done any testing prior to the Kubernetes and then go for the first Kubernetes certification. So they want to understand if they mess up the cluster, let's say they are in the question number 4 and they are trying to set up the network policies or troubleshooting the Kubernetes cluster and they mess up the cluster in the question number 4. Do this messing up the cluster in question number 4 mess up the question number 5 or the question number 5 is a separate Kubernetes cluster?
In Linux Foundation exams, no. Okay, in CKS exam, you might break your ABI server. In this exam, the etcd, if you do the etcd restore the way I did it, you will not mess up your cluster. There is another way where you change the host path. Yes, this might basically, you might do a typo or something on the etcd manifest, you might break up the cluster. But in general, think about it. Okay, you might change a kubelet config file, you might change an ABI server in troubleshooting if it's an ABI related. So do a backup first. That's why I say do a backup. But even the troubleshooting question, most likely it will be one cluster. It will not be, so one question, one cluster. That will be it usually. Yeah.
Yes, thank you very much. That's great.
But it's a high key question. It's really a high score question. I don't know what's the highest score now. It could be 11% or something. The CKS, I think the highest score was 11%. So it could be 11% or something. You don't want to miss the troubleshooting question.
Yes, absolutely. I think you have to practice it a lot. That's number one.
The way I practice troubleshooting is I break things. Okay, think something is working, I break it and I check. I check the logs. I check what happened. I check basically what kind of symptoms are there. Yeah. That's how I learn troubleshooting. And Clustered by David, raw code, is a good way to learn internals and to learn about troubleshooting. But it's more advanced. You'll not get a very problematic troubleshooting scenario. Most likely it will be one task that you need to do. It could be a configuration file, you need just to change a value, key value, service maybe is not up, a bod maybe is not running, the manifest, there is a typo in the name of the manifest. Instead of YAML, maybe something else, something like that. Yes. I cannot say the questions because I don't remember them really. But and also I am under NDA anyway.
Yes, absolutely. I think one of the things that I notice in the Kubernetes community, this is you have to build out this community, that you have to break cluster, because right now we have so many playgrounds like Katakoda, like you can do it in a wonderful way. We don't have these kind of options in the past, like let's go back to 2015, 2016. We don't have these kind of options like Katakoda, that we have a multi-pass, and we have a Vagrant. I think we have so many tools. So I think you have to practice it a lot in the way, and I think the way you showed up, I think you have to adopt the strategies for that. You have to back up the cluster and these kind of things. So I think really interesting to know this kind of stuff. So I think we are run short of time, and we have cover the CKA today, but let's be honest, we try to catch another CKAD and CKS, so might be we'll do episode number 2 of the CKA, but it's all on your recommendation because these are sessions for especially those guys who are just joining us today. So the number one way to tell us what you want to learn next is to go into the Cloud Native Discord server and to DM me or ask me in public what are the sessions you want to know. But you can also do up in the, you can chat about these things on the Twitter, on the Walid Shaari and the Cloud Native Boy of my Twitter handle, and we try to do these kind of sessions on a regular basis because I think this is taken up these kind of things you are going, and I'm really happy that all person joined, and hopefully you shared a lot. And if anybody is missing these videos, I try to put them on the YouTube channel later on, and all these links that Walid shows tonight, I'll be available for you on the YouTube channel after this session. So thanks everyone, thanks Walid, I really appreciated your time and really appreciated your energy. You're the popular figure, many of the community have joined, and thank you very much. And we try to do another sessions, CKA, CKS, other things as people wanted us to do.
So if anybody have a question, you can reach me on LinkedIn or on Twitter. And as Siam said, the Discord is a good thing. Maybe Siam, you can do SurveyMonkey survey or feedback forum, Google feedback forum. You get the input from the folks, what kind of discussion they want. Because basically I need to refresh also. I mean, it's... So yes, we can do in the future, hopefully, we can do follow-ups or office hours as one of the gentlemen mentioned. Escobar, it depends. I mean, I provided Vagrant and I want to try it on different environments because basically the Katacoda, I did something on Katacoda, but they don't have the latest Kubernetes version unless you pay them subscription. I don't really have the $3,000 per month to get over the thresholds and stuff like this. It used to be free, but now after O'Reilly bought it, it's hard to do it. So yeah, but you can use a free tier from AWS, Azure, or whatever, and you can get a decent VM instance, and you run Vagrant on it, or you run what is called multipass from Ubuntu, from Canonical, and you can do the same. I did it Vagrant because I think Vagrant can run on Mac, can run on Windows, can run on Linux. I'm not sure about multipass. Not everyone is aware about multipass, so that's why I chose Vagrant.
Yes, definitely. I think wonderful. I think we can try to send out, as you mentioned.
Mahir Shah. I hope I'm not saying your name wrong. Yes, I have a blog. I didn't really made it public yet, but I will try to make it as a series. I'm trying to make it perfect, but nothing is perfect. So I'll just release it as it is. And then maybe I follow it with different articles because there is a very good, if you follow Len Cates, they have very nice articles about troubleshooting applications. But there are very few articles about troubleshooting infrastructure except from the cluster D videos. So yes, I will work on this here. Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Siam, for hosting me. Sorry for the technical issues in the beginning. Me and Siam actually fixed it last time, but we forgot now. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks again, Walid. We try to catch up you again in the future. And thanks, everyone, for joining. The next section is on 4th August, and that is on Sneak, how to scale your cluster using Sneak. And make sure to join this because we have a team from the Sneak. That's called is I think Matt will show us. So do join us another session on August 4th, 10 p.m. Pakistan time, and we will let you know other sessions with Walid Shaari as well. So this is just the beginning, and thank you everyone for joining us today. And good night, and have a great day. Bye bye.